Well, Leandro, as you walked into this room, you said, "Oh my days." Have you ever experienced pressure, emotion, tension, joy like you've just felt?
I think this is one of the toughest ones in general. Obviously, when we scored that goal, was a lot of joy, but then we had to dig in at the end to not concede, and obviously with that penalty incident, with the goal, I mean, I was just happy that we won.
So in those, I don't actually know how long it was as we speak, but in those moments where you think they've equalised, what are the emotions? Do you feel like it's all gone, basically?
To be fair, David said straight away it has to be 100% no goal. So I had a lot of faith at that moment and belief because he was pretty convincing. But you never know, obviously. And then you're thinking, it's not going our way. But luckily it was a foul and we won the game.
Yeah. When you see the ref then make the square, I guess it's a whole new set of emotions.
Yeah, it's again relief at that point because it's not long to go and you have to still dig in for a couple of minutes. So we're just really happy with this one.
Listen, you got the goal, and again, I just said to you as you walked in, it was a real sort of guttural roar when the ball hit the net. Again, tell us how you felt.
Yeah, again, just pure joy because we knew what we had to do, and that's win today. We created some chances in the first half. It was tough work because obviously we know what they are fighting for as well, and it's a tough ground to come to. So, I knew at that moment it got us up in front, and we had to just keep the clean sheet.
Yeah, and after a little wait for you personally for a goal, you picked the right time, Leo.
Yeah, I take it. Obviously, it's a great time to score and get the win today. So it's another 2 games for us, and hopefully something nice is waiting for us.
Yeah, like you said, a couple to go. But it was mentioned in commentary that some games just feel like they're the one. They're the one that we'll look back on and say, that was where they won it. Maybe you'd be mad to stand here and say that now, but do you know what I mean when I say that?
No, I understand, but obviously I think you have a couple of times in the season where you have those moments, and maybe today can be that moment. After the season we will look back and we can say that this is the one who brought us there, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. We have 2 games to play and we need to win those as well.
And as we wrap this up, one last one on David, because there wasn't just a foul at 0-0 a couple of minutes before you scored. He made what will probably may well be looked back on as save of the season because of what it meant.
No, exactly. I think he has helped us a lot already this season, and you can see his quality in goal, the amount of saves he can do, and also different types. So a lot of credit to him to keep us in the game.
A lot of credit to him. A lot of credit to you, the player of the match.
Thank you.
And the match winner. Well
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Goal that could be the one that gets Arsenal ultimately over the line. You've been in title-winning dressing rooms so many times, Roy. Will they feel that really in those last 15 minutes they've got over the line?
Yeah, I think so. There'll be a lot of relief, of course, because there was huge pressure on the game, and everyone talking about this is the toughest game we're going to have, and you don't certainly think they can take care of Burnley. You don't want to be too disrespectful to Palace. But I think there'll be relief in the dressing room, and obviously then the way it finished the game, you're thinking that moment they're probably thinking we've lost the title. So they'll be on that emotional roller coaster. But the fact is they got the job done, and in the key moments regarding the keeper making a good save, or you could say it was a bad miss, then obviously producing that little bit of quality for the winning goal, and then obviously the incident at the end where you think you need a little bit of luck and decision to go your way. So they've had that, but again they kept a clean sheet. Again, the game itself, the technical stuff wasn't great. But if you're going to win a league title, there's going to be parts of the season, parts of games where it's just about surviving and getting through. And they've shown that this season, and lots of occasions they can do it. And the goal they've scored was a bit of quality, and it looks simple, but it was effective. And even the last bit, the way they passed from Odegaard, that is quality play. So they deserve all the credit because there was a lot of pressure on them again. Yeah, they've dealt with it this year for both teams, of course, but they've dealt with it. Whereas you're thinking the last year or two, I don't think the squad were maybe capable of it. But when you look at the bench today, the options to bring these players off the bench is obviously the difference.
Is that the big difference, really, when you think about people like Martin Odegaard being able to come on late in the game and help change the path of it?
Without a doubt, the reason why everybody was saying that this is Arsenal's best chance of winning this this season is because of the squad depth. You know, our captains come off the bench, and we were talking about it, Jane, that we needed somebody in this particular kind of game because there's pressure on both teams. West Ham for their reasons, and obviously Arsenal for their reasons to try and win this game. But there was no one who was getting their foot on the ball, especially once Declan got moved over to that right-hand side. It got very, very scrappy. There wasn't a lot of quality in the game. And if we're going to be totally honest, the real main quality and the composure was Erdegaard coming on and in the box, showed that composure, even the pass to Trossard, so he hasn't got to think about anything, just coming at it first time is the kind of quality you needed in that moment, and he brought that. So the squad, the last 3 seasons, I don't think the squad has been strong enough to continue to get to this point there, but this one is, and this is why it would have been such a travesty to not get something out of this season. It will be a travesty not to get something out of this season.
Might they also reflect, Jamie, that perhaps they got away with one?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The relief from the fan base, the manager, the players. Because for that moment in time, when the ball goes in your net, you're thinking Declan Rice is trying to you had to unravel everything that was happening. But obviously, Pablo has his arm on the goal, and you're just praying that they can see that.
It was like in those moments, life stopped for Arsenal, didn't it? Life's just stopped.
I have never seen if we actually had a stop of it, I don't think I've ever seen more holding in my life. To unravel that moment, it was like watching a Super Bowl. You know, it was like everyone's grabbing on for dear life.
That or a Royal Rumble, I'm not sure.
It was absolutely, you know, it was chaos. And probably, since you've introduced VAR, now I'm not saying because there'll be a lot of West Ham fans will say, well, look at that foul, look, he's holding him.
Oh, we'll do that in a moment.
But there will be a lot of people that will be saying, that's one of the most probably important moments of VAR. I mean, what did you think when you heard those words, Wright?
What, when they're going to...
The relief.
Listen, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a massive fan of VAR, but in this instant and what you saw, it did the job.
Well, those words from Chris Kavanagh, after review, are they the sweetest words that you ever heard?
Sweetest words since Martin Luther King's I've had a dream, if I'm going to be totally honest, because I'm hoping, you know what I mean, when that goes in, the first thing you're thinking is, please let something have happened in there. Because when Callum Wilson hits that and Declan saves that, you're thinking, please not be over the line. Or you're feeling, I don't know what any other Arsenal fan was thinking, but I was thinking, please let something have gone wrong there. And then, obviously, you look back at it, and his arms across him, you know. For me, it was an easy one to give in such a tense moment. But, like, you know, everything flashed. Everything flashed in front of me. Not great stuff. No. You know what I mean? But things flashed. And you're thinking, you know what, we might have blown it there.
Imagine, like you're saying it flashed for you. What must it have felt like for Mikel Arteta?
Well, again, you know, especially with the first half and how dominant we were, and then Ben White going off. It seemed, and Declan, our best player, you have to say, our best player, most productive player in the first half, it completely negated. And then West Ham started to get into it a little bit. And that's the problem. I think what West Ham had, they didn't go for them. They didn't go for Arsenal enough to perceive how much pressure you can put them under to see if you can create something. And I think we're fortunate in that respect.
I think if
you know, they nearly gave it away. And that's what we're going through now. We've nearly given it away, and then we found a way to get it back. And let's hopefully we can finish it off. But, like, gosh, it's too much, man. It really, really is.
By the way, was even a nightmare in here?
That wasn't. Was I a nightmare? I wasn't a nightmare.
Nuisance.
That was a nuisance in here, man.
Well, it's an emotional game. And,
yeah,
and if that was a Man City today, we'd be watching. We said they got the job done. That's what really top teams done. So we have to give Arsenal all the credit. Yeah.
I mean, wherever people are watching, wherever people are going, people still inside this stadium, that incident will be talked about over and over and over again. So now in the cold light of day, away from the Arsenal bench and the West Ham fans, are we all happy we've reached the right conclusion? Is that the right decision?
Do you know, the one thing I would say is I want to see players decide football matches, especially when it's a tighter race, especially when it's relegation. VAR has been brought in for big moments. There's never been a bigger moment in Premier League history for VAR. I mean, quite incredible, really. If you're Arsenal, you know, you want it. If you're West Ham, you feel aggrieved. I mean, I think there's so many angles of it there. You see probably the arm on David Raya.
So you're happy with the decision?
Well, initially it wasn't given, was it?
No, you're happy with the VAR decision?
Well, he's got hold of his shirt. I mean, look, he can actually do his job, David Raya, in there. He's got his shirt pulled. He's holding onto his arm. I know he could probably jump and maybe claim it a bit stronger. I can understand why they didn't give it. I want to see players, but we have VAR for that moment. And I think ultimately, even though they looked at it far too long, in my opinion, they should look at it way quicker. I think they made the right call.
Yeah, over 4 minutes this took, but ultimately David Raya is being impeded, in your view?
Yeah, look, you can clearly see his shirt is pulled, and what's interesting as well, it's the reaction of the players, because even the Arsenal players in itself actually weren't appealing at this moment in time. However, when you do slow it down, there's a clear and obvious pull on the shirt. You can see it here. But it's just disappointing how long it takes, and that's the side of the VAR, which is really frustrating for everyone watching, because you're not quite sure what's going on. But you can clearly see there, his shirt's been pulled, it's inhibited his
So Todibo on the shirt and Pablo on the arm.
Pablo on the arm as well. So it's a really difficult one when it's sped up. However, everything's slowed down. This is why VAR comes in. But however, we don't want to be talking about VAR. We want to talk about moments like Owen was saying. But look, I think they come to the right decision in the end, but it should not take that long.
I genuinely think if we went back on all Arsenal's goals this year, the way they are and how aggressive they are with blocks and pulling shit and pulling people in and around places, you will be able to find that they've done this to a keeper, to a player.
Kev, you're 100% right.
You know,
that's why it's almost ironic.
So frustrating.
Yeah,
this is why it's so frustrating.
So you think it's right on the day, but inconsistent in the season?
Just inconsistent over the season, and that's why I don't like VAR. I said me and Theo were talking as soon as it happened, and I was like, if you're waiting this long again, 4 minutes, and you're looking at it 10, 12 times, you're looking for something. For me, if it's a clear and obvious area, then fair enough. But at this moment in time, I'm not seeing that as a clear and obvious error by the ref. I think it's just a melee of players coming together. You see Declan Rice just behind him, got hold of his player who he's marking. You know, he's got hold of him, actually hold of him. So, you know, where do we go with all this? I actually don't know now. I think it's so difficult to actually see it with VAR the way it is and the way it acts. And yeah, I think if it was the other way around, I'm telling you now, all the Arsenal fans would be saying it's not a penalty. It's not a goal.
Do you know one thing I would say? I noticed even coaching my son's team on the weekend. Now we see loads of people crowding the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of everybody just crowding the goalkeeper all the time. You know, and I think it's become a thing this season where we've seen everybody just crowding the goalkeeper and he can't really do his job. And I think really we want people to be able to do their job. I don't know if you can create a rule where, you know, there's a little bit more space or something, but we are getting to a point where there's 10 bodies in the space of 5 yards, and you're just going to keep getting these moments all the time.
They'll feel aggrieved with that, West Ham, but you know, it probably is the right decision when we look back at it. But what I'm saying, it's just been too inconsistent all the way through the season with the pull, the little tugs, the little blocks, everything else. So the sort of, you know, giving themselves something more to everybody to have a go at them for, which, you know, it's frustrating for them. And as I said, if it was the other way around today and West Ham were 1-0 up and then they scored, they'd feel aggrieved, I think, Arsenal. So, yeah, unfortunate for West Ham today because they've come on the wrong end of it.
And, of course, it's such a big decision. Manchester City will feel equally as aggrieved as West Ham watching that.
Oh, if you're a player and you're at home, you're throwing stuff at the telly. Honestly, you're going absolutely mad. I mean, it actually felt like a Hollywood film, kind of the ups and downs and the ending. Obviously, I thought West Ham were brilliant today. You know, they really were. They probably deserve something from the game. Credit, I mean, Mikel, forget about even, obviously, Zubimendi came on, then he came off. You know, so many things, and Kai Havertz came on, Ødegaard came on, and that had a big impact on the game. But Arsenal needed to get the job done. Somehow they find a way to do it, but I do feel sorry for West Ham because I thought they put in a brilliant shift.
Well, Jared, let's start with the equaliser that wasn't. Do you feel incredibly hard done by?
I'd like to see, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you could go about this, answering this question. Is because we're on the receiving end of it, we're going to feel more hard done by. But, you know, football is a sport that brings, you know, enjoyment, fans together and gives people big moments. We had our big moment then before we got back into the game. Look at something for 5 minutes, trying to find something, which I get goalkeepers are protected more than outfield players. There's lots of, you know, holding and grappling that goes on in the box. Are you going to look at those every single time and give a penalty? Because that's the only way that is the right way to do it. You've got to give. Like I said, I get that the goalkeepers, you can't go and wipe a goalkeeper out and, you know, there's arms there, but the keeper's come in to try and grab the ball. He's got to be seen, not as an outfield player, but he's got to expect contact. You know, it's a corner kick, it's physical, it's the Premier League. There's going to be contact, there's going to be, you know, tussles and what have you. Obviously, we're on the receiving end of it, so we feel more hard done by, but we had one at Brentford last week where Thomas Souček got pulled at the back post, got dragged down, didn't get a penalty. So I'm just saying as a consistency level, you know, VAR is here to stay, we know that. But I just think that the decisions like I said, if you look at something for 5 minutes, and I'm going to sound bitter, and people are going to think I sound bitter, but I think I'm just being honest, that if you look at something for long enough, you'll find something to give. And I think that was what happened in the end.
So to sum up, when it happens every week, every game, actually pretty much every corner, why now enforce it?
Well, I can guarantee you that people, the pundits, everyone that watches football know that football is a physical game and there's holding every single time. No one wants to see penalties every single week. No one wants to see fouls against every single week. You know, you want... But if we're going to give, you know, free kicks for... Like I said, goalkeepers are different because they do get, you know, a little bit of different treatment. But in the same breath, I think there's got to be a little bit of understanding with it well that, you know, when there's a corner, you see how corners are these days. People want to put it on top of goalkeepers, create that confusion, create that kind of fight in the 6-yard box. So yeah, that's what I think it is. And like I said, I'm not coming here to sound bitter and blaming different things, but yeah, I think I'm just being honest about the situation, the receiving end that we've been on the receiving end of.
And maybe an irony to the fact that it's come against the team that's probably done that the most, that's almost pioneered that type of corner.
Well, yeah, they're probably the best example of being so good from set pieces, a real threat of their game, and you know they're physical and they want to put the ball on top of the goalkeeper. And I'm sure we could go back through every single game and see, you know, goalkeepers getting fouled and you know not getting decisions. So that's my point with it. Is if you're going to give it for every single one that happens week in, week out.
Can I ask that? Have you actually seen it back? Do you think it is a foul?
Yeah. I think he's got his arm on him. I don't think you can deny that he's got his arm on him. I'm not going to come here and be naive and stupid and say, no, he's not touched him. Well, I think he's got his arm on him. But like I said, in the same breath, if the goalkeeper's coming to try and catch a cross, we're trying to affect that. We don't want the goalkeeper to come and catch the ball and, you know, finish our attack. And that's where I said, you know, he's coming out of his 6-yard box. We've got to expect some contact for everyone because that's the whole point of a corner. That's the whole point of, you know, physical Premier League. So it's just where's the line, where's the bar, you know?
Well, I think he was honest. You know, you can see that there's a bit of emotion going through him, but he wanted to be fair, and I think the way he explained it is exactly how I probably seen it. You know, David Raya is coming out to try and claim the ball, to take the pressure off his team. He's got a bit of contact in with him. As I said, you know, they're lads. You know, I can see Declan in that video piece what we shown, and he's got hold of his man, and that's what he was talking about. You know, Arsenal have been the best at it for the last couple of seasons in terms of how they block, what they do, getting in and around the keeper, stopping the keeper from coming. So if you look back on all the goals that they've scored, I'm sure then that we'll see that there's probably quite a few which were like that this evening. So they'll just feel hard done by, and I think because they've done the wrong end of the decision today, and now what they've got to do is pick themselves up, and they've got to go and win the next 2 games and hope that the others around them Tottenham slip up now.
That is the big moment. Let's look at the other huge ones, because talking to goalkeepers, David Raya at 0-0, Theo. I mean, this is going to go down as an iconic Premier League save if Arsenal go on and win the league.
I mean, not just that, it should build a statue if they win the Premier League as well. I mean, incredible. He made a great save in the first half, but this one is just arguably the best save of the season. You know, just to have that composure, not to go down too early, and, you know, Fernandes will be disappointed, of course. However, you just got to admire the fact he saved with his foot near post. Incredible, because you've got to stay strong in those moments, like I say, when he doesn't have much to do. And he could have come out and rash decision, however, he just held his ground. And it's incredible foot. You can just see it here. Incredible. Could have gone down early, but it's an amazing save. He's been incredible all year, and arguably maybe player of the season. I think that save now says it all.
I thought that Fernandes was excellent for West Ham in midfield today, and you know he's been brilliant all season long since he come from Southampton. I was just expecting to lift it there. That's where you sort of expecting. There, you'll know as well, mate. Is that? But what an incredible save, and he's done that all season long, hasn't he, Raya, as you just said.
I mean, Mikel Arteta made some huge calls today in terms of substitutions, but when he brought Zubimendi off, who you brought on, and Ødegaard and Havertz on, you thought that was significant at the time.
I said to Theo there, I said he's going to take Zubimendi off. Do you know what? And it was the right call, because he just got a bit more firepower on the pitch. And Ødegaard and Havertz combining here, great little run in behind. There was a little glimmer, great little block from Souček on the cutback, but I think they had far more control. And when you get these guys on the ball, Ødegaard more often not picks the right pass. They get in really good positions, and that's kind of really where it came from. I mean, it was a brave call from Arteta. I think initially probably the first sub bringing Zubimendi on was probably the wrong one. He adjusted it at half time. Mosquera came on, but I think just bringing Ødegaard and Havertz on had a huge impact on the game.
I think as well, when you always see the players in the positions where you want Ødegaard to be, at times you felt like the fullbacks were in those half kind of areas and spaces. But Odegaard, he's just a player that he does like to drive the ball, like you're saying, commit defenders, and the patience, and he can just spot a pass. Trossard as well is really patient, just to hold off, and obviously guide it with a slight knock off Shuket. However, it was one of those where Arsenal, you just felt maybe, the way it was going for them, they were going to get that sneaky goal. But
Trossard has a great feel, Danny, to when to come off the line. It's, he was out wide virtually the whole game. For whatever reason, he comes inside such a crucial moment. He's such an underrated player. Trossard, fabulous finish.
Really strong start from Arsenal, Ian. They had 10 shots in the first half. 9 came in the first 21 minutes. Did it feel like a goal was coming?
Well, it did, yeah. We started exactly how you want to start. I thought this was a great chance. I think he should just clip that in with his left foot and turn it inside to Gyökeres. Perfect time, in there now, and instead of the little flick with the outside of the left foot, and I think that would have been a great chance. This, again, I think that's a great save. Maybe he could have headed that back across the goal. Maybe I'm over-analysing it because I want him to score so much, but the fact is you want to get that on the target where it's got the best opportunity of going in. The second header... It's such a great ball, isn't it? Yeah, it's a great ball. That's a good save, that is. I think when the second header comes across, I think you go across the goal with this header.
Were you expecting him to score from there?
I was expecting him to at least hit the target there. That's what you want.
These set pieces, Roy, causing a problem, though, weren't they?
Yeah, of course. And West Ham have got to be careful because they're giving away some daft free kicks, and obviously, whatever about corners, you can't be lunging, and you've got to be sure of it because we know the danger, and obviously brilliant defending.
That's great.
Great delivery from Wright.
Right in the middle of it.
And what West Ham have done, obviously, you have to survive the first 25, 30 minutes, and then they got a foothold in the game.
I think the game changed as well when Declan Rice has to go right back. Ben White comes off with an injury.
Arsenal lose a little bit of momentum at that point.
A lot of momentum.
Yeah, absolutely, because you change the dynamic. Declan has a real physicality and a presence in that midfield, and you bring on Zubimendi, who hasn't quite got that. You lose that. But also, West Ham have started to win second balls. The crowd are up. They're winning challenges. Every time there's been a bounce of a ball, you've seen a West Ham player land on it just like that.
And then they've got the confidence to go and try and get one themselves.
Absolutely, and then all of a sudden you turn, you get Wan-Bissaka up the pitch. And it's like 45 minutes on the clock. Great ball in.
Great move.
Tati just gets across the face there. Really good centre forward play in.
It was the way he come inside. And, it's a good header. He's got it on target. That's what you want from that distance. It was a good ball in. But we've got to be careful with that now.
Good save from David Raya.
Yeah, but you'd expect him to save. You'd expect him to save that. Obviously, very good effort. But the wing backs still for West Ham are huge from. Yeah, sometimes they lack quality, but they've got to keep getting them up the pitch. It's a great outlet for them, and they're good ball carriers. They've got to stick at it and gives the defence then a bit of a breather.